Welcome to the Collide Kids podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey y'all, welcome to the Collide Kids podcast. I'm your host, Christen Clark. The Collide Kids podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. If this is your first time listening to the Collide Kids podcast, thank you for tuning in. I am so glad you're here. Be sure to stick around to the end. That's where we have what we call the kids only segment, where kids just like you get to be on the podcast. Before I introduce my guest today, I want to ask you a question. The question is, what are you good at? I mean, really, like you're really good at it. Can you dance or sing or draw or run fast or kick a goal or catch a ball? Are you good at telling jokes or working out math problems or acting on stage or writing encouraging notes or playing an instrument? Okay, now those are a lot of options, but maybe you have something totally unique and special that I didn't say. Whatever it is, I think it's a good thing to know what you're good at, or at least have some ideas. Sometimes when we're younger, we still have to figure those things out. Well, these things that we're good at, we call these talents. A talent is a skill or ability that comes naturally to you. Well, my guest today is Jemarcus Kilgore, and he's going to share about his talent, which is acting. He's an Atlanta-based actor in the TV and film industry. He's been acting since he was 12 years old, and he loves the artistic expression that acting brings. You could see him in Discarded Things, which is a movie on Pureflix, and in many other projects that will be released in the future. He even is going to give us some info about his secretive upcoming projects. I feel like an entertainment news show getting the inside scoop. It's so exciting. We also talk about his sisters, one of which was on the show before. So I'm really excited for you to hear this conversation with my friend Jemarcus Kilgore. Jemarcus, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is really awesome. You have a very cool job that I think a lot of people are interested in and maybe aspiring to be. So could you introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Of course. My name is Jemarcus Kilgore. I am 21 years old, and I am currently an actor. I say currently, but that's the gig. That's what I'm going to be doing. I've been acting since I was about 12 years old professionally. And it's what I love to do, and I think it's what I'm meant to do. Tell stories that change lives, and that's a little bit about me.
Very cool. That's awesome. And I can't wait to hear about some of the movies and things you've been in. But since this is a show for kids and families, we always like to start out with something fun. So do you have a joke or maybe a funny impression you want to share with us?
I think I could do a pretty cool impression. I know a lot of kids at home love superheroes.
Yes.
And my favorite superhero is Black Panther. And I think I'm a pretty solid Black Panther impression. So let me see.
Okay.
Hello, everybody at home today. My name is King T'Challa of Wakanda, and I am super glad to be on this podcast today. I want everybody at home to know that Wakanda stands forever strong, despite all that is going on in the world. And in case you are wondering, I never freeze.
I never freeze. That's awesome. That was so good.
One time I did that for Halloween. I was T'Challa. And I was walking around the neighborhood and, just with my nephews and things. And one of the little boys comes up and he was dressed as Captain America. He goes, "Are you actually T'Challa?" I was like, "What do you want? What do you want? What do you think?" I was, "Oh my gosh, Mom, it's actually him." It was the best moment. I think that's where I peaked in my career.
It's Halloween. That's awesome. Yep. That's so good. Yes. Okay, so tell us about acting. Like you've been an actor since you were 12. So what was the thing that made you want to pursue that or want to do that?
Yeah, well, for a long time, all I wanted to do was be a Power Ranger. That was my biggest thing. I told Mom and Dad, I was like, I want to be the Red Ranger, and that's about it. And then at some point, my mom was like, well, that Power Rangers are just actors, right? I was like, all right, cool. So I'll just do that. That's the next best thing. So it started off as me wanting to be a stunt actor and me wanting to, just do flips and stuff like that. I was in gymnastics. I'm a martial artist, all that type of stuff. And then I was in a church play once, and my mom and the director of the play were like, "Wait a second, he's good." Like when did he shift from just reading the lines to like performing and performing well? And so at that point I was like 12 years old, and then my mom was like, "Hey, do you actually want to try this acting thing?" No, I'm 12. I don't know better. I'm like, "Sure, let's do it. It can be fun." So I got into some acting classes. I got my first headshots done, and my birthday that year, I was turning 13. We got a call that I got cast in Tyler Perry's Single Moms Club.
Okay.
It was just a small little featured extra role, but to me, at that age, I'm like, yo, this is going to be the role that changes my life forever. I'm in a Tyler Perry movie. I was playing his son, and if you go back and watch the movie, it's towards the end of the film. It's funny, a lot of people have seen my work before and they just have no clue it's me. And I literally gave myself a line, so I don't know if I can consider it my work. But it was just like, that's where I really got my start in my first professional gig.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So do you just do movies, or what kind of things do you do as an actor?
Yeah. When I started off, that's what I wanted to do, just movies. But I realized a lot more in the years of me growing up that it's more about the craft than just about, just being on a screen.
Mm-hmm.
So in between, 12 and 16, I was, again, like I said, I thought that role was going to like change my life forever. And obviously that's not how it goes. I wasn't even a lead role in the movie in the grand scheme of things. I just didn't know the extent of it.
Yeah.
So I kind of got discouraged. I was like, all right, I just did a movie. Why am I not doing more? What was going on? And so I was like, you know what? This acting thing isn't for me. I'm going to go play basketball. At the time, I had just started hitting my first couple of growth spurts. I'm like in the 8th grade. I'm 5'11". It's like, all right, this basketball thing can be a thing. Christen, I was bad. I was so bad. It's like I can dance, I can play drums, I can do things that require hand-eye coordination. But when it came to playing basketball, I was just not good. The coach was like, all right, I just need you to stay in the paint, lift your hands up, and block. And, if the ball gets past you, dribble a little bit, pass it back out. And if you get a couple of points, try. I was bad. And so I read this book, and I believe it was called Unlocked. And it was about this boy with autism who did musical theater. And I think the director just heard him singing one day, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, he's phenomenal. Let's put him in Beauty and the Beast."
Mm-hmm.
And so they had him play Beast when he transforms. And I'm reading this book, and it's fantastic. And it's like it's one of those books that I was just like invested in. It's a real page turner.
Yeah.
And it took on a lot of heavy topics. But I'm reading this book, and I never feel the need to read like the author's letter to the reader. But that time God led me to read it. So I read this letter to the reader, and the author got her whole idea for this book from a place called CYT. And it stands for Christian Youth Theater.
Okay.
And so I'm like, okay, well, what's the CYT thing? Christen, the entire book takes place in Gwinnett County. And that's where I was from.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, if this book takes place in Gwinnett, of course the CYT place has to be based in Atlanta. So I reach out to, I Google CYT, and they have an Atlanta location. I reach out looking to do an audition for Junior Theater Festival. They were looking for different people. I was like, I think I could play Donkey. I think that could be a fun role to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I reach out, and they're like, hey, so we actually just closed auditions for JTF. However, we are doing The Little Mermaid as our spring show. If you would like to audition, our fall show. So I auditioned for The Little Mermaid. I didn't even tell my parents about it. I was just like, I set up the audition, and then I told my parents, which is not the direction you're supposed to go.
Right.
So I was like, hey, I have an audition for a musical. And they're like, I'm sorry, what? I was like, yeah. So can we go do this? And they're like, yeah, I mean, you already set it up now. It would be bad not to show. I do this audition. I book Prince Eric. At this time, I have little to no experience with theater. Definitely not vocally. So it's the best 3 months that I could ever imagine. I'm training, I'm meeting friends, I'm growing as a performer. And at the end of those 3 months, we do the show. And this is like, when people ask me why I have a passion for acting, this is like, I'm getting to like the testimony part of it.
Yeah.
So it's our last show. It's our Sunday night matinee. And we're done the show, signing autographs for kids, feeling like rock stars. And this one little girl comes up to me, and she tugs my costume. She goes, "Hi, Prince Eric." I look down. I'm like, "Hey, sweetie, how are you?" She goes, "I'm good now." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I was sad before, but then I came in and you started singing Fathoms Below and it made me happy. And I melted."
Oh, wow.
I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah. Can I get your autograph?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." In my head, I'm like, it's not worth anything, but like, sure. But it was like that moment that God like really opened my eyes. He was like, "Yo, your talents aren't for you, but
Mm.
for other people." And so it's a long tangent from the actual original question. But
I love it.
yeah, it was just like I realized that my talents were meant to change lives in the smallest way possible. So like for that little girl, you know, it made her happy to hear somebody sing one of her favorite Disney songs. But in the grand scheme of things, it could be on a screen, and it honestly could be the matter of life and death one day. And
Yeah.
I was blessed that God like brought me to that realization. So
I love that. I love that you think that God gave you that idea that, you know, whether you're performing or whether you're, you know, helping someone, whatever you're doing, you're serving other people. And if
exactly,
you go into anything you do to think about serving other people, you're going to get so much more out of it, right?
yeah, yeah. And it's like one of my professors when I was studying theater at school, he was like, "It's not about making it; it's about creating."
Mm.
So it's like the accolades and the Oscars and the red carpet stuff. That's all cool, cool, cool. Never been to the Oscars or the red carpet, by the way. But like all that stuff is awesome, but it's not what it's about. If you're creating and you're spreading a little bit of joy, I mean, I'm taking my chance to make the world a better place.
That's awesome. That's a great way to look at it. And I interviewed a comedian a few episodes back, Andrew Stanley, and he talked about that same thing, that like he loves what he does because he loves to go in and share something with a room full of people and make them smile or make them
Yeah,
laugh. Like, so
yeah,
if that's what your goal is, you're going to do this forever because you want to help other people and serve other people.
exactly.
It's not about glory for yourself. And so that's amazing. So tell us about some of the movies that you've done.
Yeah. Well, obviously, the Tyler Perry Single Moms Club, that was my first one.
Okay.
But most recently, the coolest, biggest film I've done is called Discarded Things, and it's currently out on Pureflix. Shameless plug. But yeah, it's this film about forgiveness and grace, and it's a faith-based film. And the director and star in it is Karen Abercrombie. Most people know her as Miss Clara from War Room. And
Okay.
it was a brilliant opportunity. She literally found me at church. I'm doing a church play, an Easter production, and she was helping co-write and co-direct it. So she comes in on the last like 3 days before we have to do the show. And I'm gonna tell this story a lot faster than the other one. But she comes in and she sees me like on stage, like it's late. I'm late for rehearsal. I'm running in. I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you." Blah blah blah. Getting on stage,
Uh-huh.
get to work. So she sees me on the first night and she goes, "Hey," we wrap up. She's like, "Hey, how old are you?" "I'm 17. What's your name?" "I'm Jemarcus." "Who's your agent?" "My mom." I was like, "I don't know any. I'm still very green to this." And she goes, "You're brilliant." The next day, my mom gives me a manila folder. She's like, "Take this to Miss Glenda." Miss Glenda is the other director, and she's the one who helped me get started in acting. She said, "Don't open it. Take them to Miss Glenda." And if Mama says don't open something, you don't open it. So why ain't open it? We're going to lunch later, and I give the envelope to Miss Glenda. Miss Glenda passes it to Karen. Karen opens it, and it's my headshot and resume. I'm like, what is happening? The next day is Sunday. Oh, it's Easter Sunday. We're performing the show. Karen sits me down, and she goes, "Hey, I have all your materials, and I want you to audition for this movie. I'm going to send all the stuff to your mom, and we're going to get it figured out." The next Monday, Karen sends us the script. I send in my tape by Tuesday. By Thursday, I figured out I booked the role.
Wow.
And I figure out later, it's a very God ordained situation. Like that, like, sure, I guess I had to do pretty okay to book the part. But at
Yeah.
that point, I had like little to no training. I was very green. And I comes to figure out later that she told me that she couldn't tell me then because I would have freaked out. But she said the second I ran into that room late, God had already told her, "Yeah, that's the kid you're looking for your movie."
Wow.
Because they had gone to New York, they had gone to LA, they had been in Atlanta, auditioning all over in these big film TV hubs, and she's like, nobody was just sticking it for her.
Yeah.
So when she told me that the first time, I cried. I was like, "Yo, what?"
Yeah.
Um, And so, yeah, Discarded Things is this story about faith and love and grace and forgiveness. So I play this character. His name is Jalen, and he's one of the members of this group home where a lot of this where a lot of these kids live.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's a complicated one.
Mm-hmm.
He's super charismatic, super bubbly, but he's got a lot going on the inside. He's also a writer, so he takes to his pen and his paper to let it all out. And without spoiling anything, I think that's the most I can say because it really is a beautiful film. I'm blessed to be a part of it. A lot of well-known people now are in it. When we met, we were all just pretty new to this, but like now, if you watch it, there's some faces that kids at home are like, I know her, or I know him.
Awesome.
And so yeah, Cameron Arnett is a part of it, and he's a fantastic actor and done a lot of faith-based film. He was just recently in Overcomer, the Kendrick Lamar's last movie. And yeah, it's a beautiful film. I love it. And a couple of the things I'm working on currently are a little hush top secret, so I can't talk about them. However, they're super cool, and I can't wait to tell the world.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear about them. Maybe we'll find out pretty soon, and we can put it in the show notes. Or we'll just have to be like watching your every move to find out what happens next.
We'll see.
I love when there's secrets. Oh, I want to be the first to know.
I love it. It's awesome. I was just on set today getting a COVID test. I get tested like 4 times a week because we got to be safe.
Yeah, that's so different now. You have to get tested all the time.
All the time. Like I wasn't even filming this week, but I still had to go to set 4 times a week to get tested. This is my 4th one this week, and I think I start filming again next week.
Wow, that's amazing. Is the movie taking place here in Atlanta?
Yeah, the project is taking place in Atlanta.
Okay.
We're out in Decatur. I don't think that'll give away too much. But
okay.
Yeah, it's
I'm gonna start looking now.
Look at everything in Decatur. Just get spy mode. But yeah, it's beautiful. I love that I'm getting to be a part of a project like this.
That's very cool. So tell us, what is it that you love the most about being an actor?
Yeah, the giving back part that we pinched on a little bit is great, and I love that. But besides that, the part that's like most, what's the word? That I most enjoy personally, selfishly enjoy, I guess, is being a new character. I'm a nice guy, I'd like to say. I think I'm pretty cool. But I've been getting the opportunity to play like characters that aren't so nice. And it's just like, whoa, first off, this is weird, but also it's fun. And so it's like getting to be a new character, having to dive into a script, or sometimes it's a book, sometimes these movies are based off of books or these TV shows. So to dive into that and learn more about that, or honestly, that part is great too. But the part that gets me the most joy, makes me the most happy. So when I get to set, they bring me food. Food on set for some reason is way better than food at home. I don't know how to explain it, but they'll have me put an order in on my phone the night before, and then somebody's knocking on my dressing room with a plate, and I'm just like, it's just something about food.
Oh, I love knowing that the food is so good. I wonder if it's because you're starving, because you've been like working really hard, and so it tastes better because you're hungry, or is it really just that much better?
It could also just be everything on set makes me happy.
There you go.
Somehow the food also makes me happier. Because I was telling my mom about this. I was like, I didn't understand, what serotonin was until I got to set, and like I step on set every day. Like even getting a COVID test, I step on set and I'm immediately happy. It's like, yeah, that's a serotonin boost.
Okay.
And so like apparently serotonin is the happiness thing in your brain. It's like the happiness gas. I don't know. It's like when you go to the dentist and they put you on laughing gas. I'm like that every single day when I'm on set, just because I'm so happy to be there,
Yeah.
I'll be getting a haircut and it's just like, this is the greatest haircut I've ever gotten in my entire life. Just because I'm on set,
That's hilarious. Well, okay, so tell us, are there things about acting that you don't like? We'll be right back after this. You know, raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app.
Yeah, there are a few. It can sometimes there are different methods to acting. You know, when you go to school for it, they'll train you in them. There are a couple of methods I don't like. Personally, you know, it's just my own opinion. Some actors love them, but for me, there are a couple of methods that are very emotionally draining, and I don't like being in a bad mood. But you know, sometimes you have to pull from an old memory or something to portray a certain character, and so those are some things I don't like. Just not being in a good mood after a scene. I hate that. Well, hate's a strong word. I just strongly dislike that. And then, you know, sometimes everybody on set isn't as happy and giddy as I am. You know, some people have been there for like 48 hours and they're just like ready to take a nap. But me, I get up there and I'm like, woo! That last scene in The Breakfast Club where he's just jumping up with the fist. Yes. That's me all the time. So I'm Olaf. That's a great way for people.
You're Olaf.
I'm Olaf all the time when I'm on set. I'm so happy to be there. I'm so happy that everything's going the way it's going. It could be going terrible, but nobody would be able to see it if they were looking at me. I'm Olaf.
I love that.
Yeah, you know, some castmates aren't like as giddy. So sometimes that's just like, But then I turn around and I'm like, okay, food, snack bar, you know? So those are...
You can turn it around.
Yeah.
That's great. When I was in high school, I got to do, for 1 year, I got to do the announcements on the on the intercom PA, you know, every morning. And I would get on there and say, good morning, everyone, whatever, you know, and apparently I came to find out later that people thought I was a little too peppy for the morning, like teachers, like not even my friends, like teachers would be like, you're too much on there. So I would try to turn it down, but it just got worse, you know, like it's like when you try not to be excited and happy, it makes you more excited.
Exactly. You're like compressing it all and it's still just bursting at the seams.
Right. And then it explodes on the next one. So the Pledge of Allegiance, I led the Pledge of Allegiance. It has never been more peppy than when I led the Pledge of Allegiance.
I love that. I need you to do that for like every national broadcast for like the rest of time. Just a super peppy Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes. And speaking of, did you see the guy that did the sign language for the Super Bowl?
Yes.
He is my spirit animal.
So hype. Like, and of course it's Jasmine Sullivan. And I forget the other singer's name.
Eric Church, yeah.
Yes, Eric Church. He was so up there. So it was like their energy, he matched it and some. I was so for it.
I feel like he probably is a little bit of an actor too. I know he's actually hearing impaired, and so he uses his sign language to do a lot of cool things. But I feel like whenever you go on stage and you're in a big space, you feel like you have to take up the space.
Yeah.
And I feel like he was on that football field and he was taking up the football field because his arms were fully extended. You know?
Yeah, I was talking to a friend about that literally the other day. I was like, being on a film set is so different from being in a theater. Because on a film set, it's all like on your face. The camera is picking up all the smallest things. Versus being in a theater when you've got 20,000 people in the audience. That's a large exaggeration. When you got like 2,000 people in the audience, you have to be on like 11 so that everybody in the theater gets the same experience.
Right.
Because for some people in the backpack, like up in the mezzanine or the balcony, you're just this tiny little ant. So you got to make sure for them, they get the same experience as the people on the front row. So it's like film and TV are totally different in that. I'm not film and TV. Thank you. That was so great. Theater and TV are totally different in that regard. So
Right.
yeah, he was probably filling up the entire stadium because
That's
he's an
right.
actor. That's his training.
Right. He knows how to do that. That's awesome. Well, tell us about your faith. Like you've done a faith-based film, you've done a couple of faith-based films, and you've done some different things.
Mm-hmm.
How does your relationship with God play into what you do as an actor?
It plays a huge part. I was telling a friend this once because he asked me, would you do only faith-based film? And I was like, no. Here's why. I feel like it's so easy to be a light in the room where the lights are already on, but you got to be a light in the dark sometimes so that people can actually see you shine.
Yeah.
So it's like the light of Christ, it beams off of me. That's a huge part of the play, when the joy that I just constantly have when I'm on set or in my day-to-day life. So I think I constantly am trying to stay prayed up. I have some worship music going. I have a good mix in my dressing room mix. I'll play some worship music. I might play some pop music. I might play some hip hop, some old school R&B. Like, I love old music. That's a tangent in itself. But I try to have a good mix. And I think because it's no secret that, Hollywood is a dark place, it's no secret. We all know it. And I think it's so easy to forget it, how it is on the back, and you see all the magic on the screen. But I try to share the love of Christ and the light of Christ, and no matter what setting, what film I'm on, what set I'm on. I think, and I don't even have to be telling people every day, Jesus loves you. You should do that when you have the opportunity to, obviously.
Right.
But sometimes it's just me being nice and me being peppy. And so one time I was on set for this show I'm working on. And one of the crew hands goes, dude, why are you so happy? He's like, we've been out here filming for 4 hours. Everyone's exhausted, but you're just here. I was like, A, I'm doing what I get to love. I was like, and B, I'm around people. And then C, because I'm a huge extrovert, obviously. And then C, I serve a God who gives me joy, man. And I use it everywhere, every day. It's just like, it's second nature. It's like breathing to me.
Yeah.
Spreading that joy of Christ. And so I think my faith plays a huge part because, for the longest time, I thought ministry had to be in the church, or had to be on the pulpit. But my parents and now my own experience have showed me that I can do ministry from anywhere. I can do ministry on a set. I can do ministry on a stage at a theater rehearsal. Because my ministry is showing the love of Christ. I feel like as a Christian, I'm called to do 3 things. I'm called to love God, I'm called to love people, and I'm called to spread the gospel. And that's the basic, the very basic. And of course, you're called to repent and things of that nature. But that's the very basic nutshell of it for me. And when I made it that basic for myself and that simple for myself, it became so much easier to just live life for God in my everyday. And I'm not the perfect Christian. I don't think anybody is. But and there's some things that I have to do better on. Like, it's really hard for me to get in a routine. So I really have to focus when this comes to me reading my Bible and to me praying. I have to put in a little extra work for that.
Yeah.
But in my day-to-day life, I do like to think that, I spread the love of Christ in everything I do.
That's great. And that's such a good thing to think about, that it doesn't just have to take place at church, that ministry happens everywhere. That's where it should happen. Like, we shouldn't only be coming to church to do kind things to others. We should be kind and showing that love when we're driving, when we're doing our jobs, when we're at school, all those different things is when we can show joy and show the love of Christ to other people.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, this has been so exciting. I'm excited for you as an actor and all the cool things that you've already done and all the cool things you're going to do that you can't tell us. Can you tell us anything else? Can we get any more secrets out?
Okay. Here's one secret.
Oh, okay.
It's a TV show, not a movie. That's all you get.
Oh, okay. I'll take it. I'll take it. You heard it here first. It's a TV. Well, this is awesome. So, okay, before we go, I always like to ask my guests to share a memory from when they were a kid. So do you have a memory you can share with us today?
Let's see. Yes. Definitely. Okay. So when I was a kid, this is there are mixed feelings about said memory. When I was a kid, one of my favorite movies was Underdog. And so I used to, try to fly like any
Okay,
other kid.
hold on one second. Your sister was on the show and she shared this
Did
already.
she share this already? No way. Oh, no way.
So his sister is Niecy Kilgore, and she shared about Underdog.
Yeah,
So
Underdog.
if you want to hear this story, if you haven't heard it, you got to go back and listen to Niecy's episode. It was so good. So you got to come up with another memory.
Okay, I've got one.
Okay, good.
This one is a very interesting one as well. I used to think I was a daredevil all the time,
Okay.
no matter what the situation was. So one day I was homeschooled for a very long time. So one day I should have been doing schoolwork, but I wasn't. And I was just in my room looking out the window. And I was like, this is not safe, by the way. Nobody at home should do this. Ever. Ever. At this point, I'm like 10 years old.
Okay.
I'm looking out the window. I was like, that's not that big of a drop. I think I could do a front flip. I think I could make it work. And so I did it. And I was safe. And I landed it. And that was great. But the adrenaline made me keep doing it. So eventually my little sister, who was like 8 years old at the time, comes in and is like, how is he getting to the front door without leaving out of the front door every time? And so she comes in my room, she's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm being a superhero, a daredevil, just trying things. Like, what? I was like, watch. Then jump out the window. And she's like, whoa, that's not safe. You can't do that. That's not safe. I repeat, that is not safe. Like, you can't do that. You can't do that. I was like, do you want to try it? She was like,
oh no.
So now my little sister and I are jumping out of the window and out of the window. And jumping out the window, running around. Jumping out of the window, running around. And Niecy is catching onto this. And she's like, how do they keep getting back in the house without leaving out the door? So she follows us to my room. And we're jumping out the window. She's like, you guys can't keep doing that. And we're like, we're going to keep doing that. So we keep doing it. And eventually she locks us out and calls my aunt, who was working at the time we had two houses. So it's like, your main house where everybody lives, and a little back house or whatever. And my parents had turned that into a daycare. And so my aunt is running the daycare at the time.
Okay.
So she calls my aunt and she goes, Marcus and Jaden are jumping out of the window. I told them not to, so I locked them out. So my aunt comes back, asks if we're jumping out of the window. And my little sister's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, no. And she's like, yes, you were. Like, no, I wasn't jumping out of a window. I don't know who told you that. Telling the truth is always what you should do, kids. I was not telling the truth. I obviously was jumping out of the window. And so she was like, both of your sisters are saying you jumped out of the window. I was like, you're going to believe them over me? And she's like, yes, it's 2 against 1. So eventually I got grounded, and my mom and dad came home and they grounded me as well. So I got double grounded. And yeah, I was an interesting kid.
Yes, that's so funny. Oh, I love that. And like you said, it is not safe to jump out windows.
Safe.
Don't do it.
Windows. Ever. Even if you're on a film set, they have a stunt double to do it for you. Never.
That's right. And they have pillows and mattresses and trampolines for you to land on.
Things. Right. Ever.
Awesome. Well, this was so fun, Jemarcus. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Wasn't that a great conversation? I loved when he was talking about his talent and how people encouraged him by saying, it's not about making it or becoming famous. It's about creating. It's about sharing your gift, your talent with other people. All the awards and fame, that doesn't matter. What matters is sharing your craft and serving other people. Just like his teacher said, your talent is not for you. That's really important. If you think about the thing we talked about at the beginning, about your talent, like what you're good at, and if you think about that in terms of ways that you can help other people and serve other people, even if it's something like performing or playing an instrument, maybe that might encourage someone or make them feel better if they could hear your music or see your magic trick or whatever. All your talents and abilities God has put inside of you for a purpose, and those purposes are to help other people. I just love that perspective. And I loved when he said that he used to think that ministry had to be done inside a church, but then he learned that ministry can be done anywhere. Serving others and sharing the joy of Christ is just as important when you're doing anything, not just doing things at church, right? As a Christian, our job really is to love God and love people, and we can do that when we share our talents with others. I also love that he shared the same memory as his sister did, Christen Kilgore, who is on episode 10. So if you want to hear the underdog story, you need to go back and listen to episode 10 with Christen Kilgore. Well, now it's time for the kids only segment. This is the part of the show where you get to be on the podcast. So I'm really excited to introduce you to my friend, Taylor.
My name is Taylor. My favorite Bible verse is 1 John 4:7. Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God.
Thank you, Taylor. That was so good. And what a great verse to go along with what we talked about, that love comes from God. That's so awesome. Well, if you would like to be on the podcast, I would love to hear your favorite Bible verse or an encouraging quote you like, or maybe you have a great joke that you want to share. Just have a grown-up help you go to my podcast website. It's anchor.fm/collidekidspod. And on that page, there's a place for you to leave me a message. If you need more information about this, you can find it all on my social media pages. I'm on Facebook at the Collide Kids Podcast or on Instagram at Collide Kids Pod. If you're enjoying this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you would share it with your friends and family. You can send them the link or tell about it on your social media, or maybe just tell someone on the street that you love the Collide Kids podcast. Whatever you do, it helps me out so much when other people share about the show. And don't forget to follow and subscribe to this podcast so that new episodes will automatically load each week into whatever podcast app you're using. And give us a rating and a review on your podcast app. That really does help other people find out about the show so they can listen too. Well, I hope you have learned how great it is to share your talents with others and to remember that God made you for a purpose. He has a special purpose for your life, and God wants to use you to do amazing things, not just someday in the future, but every day. So go practice the piano, or go work on your math or your dribbling skills, or rehearse your lines for the show, or draw a picture. Just be sure to share your gift with someone today. Well, in case no one has told you, let me be the first to remind you that God loves you so much. Thanks for listening.
You don't have to go very far looking for bad news because somehow it just finds you. So finding peace in the chaos can be really difficult, but it doesn't have to be because the River mobile app exists. The River is a Christian music radio station dedicated to playing music to help you get through life's toughest moments or life's happiest moments and everywhere in between. And all from artists who love Jesus and are real people just like you. Listening is easy. You can download it wherever you get apps from. Just search 1049 The River or listen online at riverradio.com. And know that The River is proud to partner with the Collide Kids podcast.